Hi, my name is Quirós, and I am lucky enough to be the science resource teacher here at the Living Coast Discovery Center for the Chula Vista Elementary School District. The Living Coast is a small environmental education center with snakes, lizards, eagles, sharks, and more. And I'm so sad to not have the students here on site right now, but I am so excited to be able to teach you today. Today's experience is titled Beaks, Feathers, and Feet. And we are going to become a special kind of scientist today called an ornithologist. So you are going to study all about birds and their amazing traits. It's pretty good because we actually just had National Bird Day this past Tuesday. So we are going to be doing a Kahoot later, and you got to stay tuned because I'm going to give you all the details for it. Do you have a favorite bird? If you do, please go ahead and put it into the question and answer section. I have my friends, Mr. Bruder and Mr. Garcia, helping me out today, and they're going to be able to answer any questions that you have, and I'll also be answering some throughout the program today. As ornithologists, you are going to be able to meet two main objectives today. First, we're going to describe and observe some main characteristics of birds. We're also going to be able to compare and contrast two main raptors that we have here at the Living Coast Discovery Center. So you're going to get to meet two live birds today. If you've been watching some of our previous live experiences, you might have already known that we've been studying about different types of animals. There are two main groups, invertebrates and vertebrates. Last time we dissected a squid, which was an invertebrate, because they do not have a backbone. Today we're going to focus on one of the main types of vertebrates, birds, and they do have a backbone or a spine. There are over 10,000 different types of birds, and we are going to be able to study the main traits of most of them. Some can be tiny like a hummingbird up to ostrich, which can be up to 9 feet tall. So here are the main characteristics of birds. They all have wings, they lay eggs, they have beaks, they have specialized bones, and they have feathers. They also, many have amazing eyesight, and they're endothermic or warm-blooded like us. And they also have very complex ways of breathing. So we are going to be able to focus on these 6 main traits today: wings, laying eggs, beaks, hollow bones, feathers, and eyesight. If you could choose one of these traits, which one would you choose? Go ahead and write it in the question and answer section, and I'll check in on your responses soon. Let's start off with wings. So all birds have wings to be able to find their food and get away from predators, and there's many different types. There are soaring wings, like this albatross has. They're really long and thin, and they help them to glide and soar for long distances. However, it takes some time for them to get started and stop and turn. There are also birds like falcons and swallows that have delta wings. Now these wings are shorter and have very sharp points, and they are going to help them to fly super fast and do quick turns as they're chasing their prey. Slotted wings, like this eagle has, are wide, and they also have separations between some of the feathers. These wide wings help them to soar, and also they are able to pick up something very heavy as well. And finally, elliptical wings, like this parrot, are kind of a mixture of all of the wings. They can fly and soar for shorter distances, and they're not quite as fast. Now, not all birds fly. So penguins actually use their wings to swim. And maybe an ostrich is also flightless. It doesn't necessarily use wings, but it has these really strong legs to be able to get around and be able to find their food and get away from predators that way. So As a review, all birds have wings, even if they don't fly. The next thing I want to talk about is how they lay eggs. So eggs are very important to birds because that's how they protect their babies. There are many different types of eggs, and I happen to have a couple to show you here. This is actually the egg of an avocet, which is a shorebird that looks like this. Pretty awesome little egg, I think, with different coloring and spots as well. Now, let's check out this hummingbird nest with 2 little eggs inside. Now, it's pretty amazing to think that 2 babies will actually grow up inside this little tiny nest. Now, those are pretty small, but check out this egg. This is an egg from an eagle, much, much bigger. So all of these eggs are different sizes and colors, but they all have this oval shape and they all have that really hard covering to protect the babies. This oval shape makes them very strong, so when the parents sit on them to keep them warm, they don't crack. So I have one more egg to show you. And check out this egg. This is the egg of an ostrich. Ostriches can get up, these eggs can be up to 3 pounds. So compared to those chicken eggs, wowie wow, it's a huge egg, definitely. So just as a review, all birds lay eggs. They might be different sizes and shapes, but they all are able to protect their babies. All right, let's move on to our next trait, which is beaks. There are many different types of beaks because birds eat different types of food. They are going to be able to find their food and be able to be specialized in order to find and eat it. So if you look at these birds that have long beaks, like this shorebird, it has a long beak to be able to dig in the mud to get maybe a snail or a worm or a crab down in the mud. Hummingbirds have long beaks to be able to get into the flowers so they can drink nectar. Other birds, like this blue jay, have really short, hard beaks to be able to crack open the shells of seeds and nuts. And that crow can actually crack open the exoskeleton of a bug. I have a couple other beaks that I want to show you. So first of all, this beak is from an animal that lives near the ocean. It's super long, but it's going to have a pouch right here also. So can you think about a bird that lives near the ocean and it's going to fly and scoop up a bunch of water and fish? Are you thinking maybe a pelican? If you are, you're absolutely correct. This is the beak of a pelican. I also happen to have the beak of a crow. Now, crows are a type of bird that eat a lot of different types of things. They eat plants, they eat animals, and they might eat your hot Cheetos and your peanut butter and jelly sandwich too, actually. So their beak isn't super long, it's not super short, and it does have this really pointy edge right here. So having these adaptations are going to help them to eat many different types of food. Now I have one other type of beak that I want to talk about. And for this one, it's time for us to meet our first bird ambassador. If you have been watching some of our previous experiences, you might have already met this bird, and her name is Mariah. So we're going to be looking at Mariah's beak today because it's quite different than all the other beaks that I just showed you. So Mariah is an American kestrel, and that is in the falcon family. So last time we talked about wings and how fast she was. So you can see she has kind of pointed wings that help her to fly fast. So she has delta wings. Today we're going to focus on her beak. So Mariah has been at the Living Coast for almost 10 years. She's about 10 years old, and she has this very sharp, curved beak. And she's going to use that kind of like a knife because she eats meat. She might eat insects, or she might eat mice as well. So she also has these very sharp feet. Those are called talons, and that's going to help her kind of work like a fork, right? So she has her beak that's going to help her work kind of like a knife, and her feet are going to help her kind of hold on to the animals like a fork. So, would you like to see her eat? Excellent. I happen to have some smaller snacks for her right now. So first I'm going to go ahead and offer her a mealworm. It looks like she's pretty excited about that. Woo, it happens pretty quick, so make sure you watch. Shall we try and offer another one? All right. Oh, she's pretty excited. What do you think, huh? How about we offer her a cricket, something maybe a little bit bigger. Let's see how she eats this one. She might actually use her foot. Do you see how she grabbed onto it? Perfectly. So those are some tasty little snacks, and you can see how that really sharp beak is going to help her to be able to eat meat for sure. Something else that I want to talk about with her is that last time we talked about how it was pretty surprising that she only weighs about 1/4 pound, like a 1/4 pound hamburger. It's pretty surprising. She looks a lot heavier than that, right? Well, that's because birds have hollow bones, and that makes them appear a lot heavier than they actually are. So I'm going to talk about bones a little bit more right now. So we're going to say goodbye to Mariah for now. Thank you so much for helping us out, and we're going to show you some other hollow bones. Thank you, Mariah. Now this is actually the bone of a pelican, and I want you to look inside. Do you notice how there are a lot of spaces in there? It does have some bone kind of crossing between them. That's going to make this bone still hard. However, it's going to need to be lighter for them to be able to fly. Now those are also going to have air pockets in them. This is an amazing way that birds breathe. They actually have air sacs inside their bones as part of their respiratory system. So if you look at this slide, you can actually see the difference between a bird bone and a human bone. In the bird bone, you can see that there are lots of pockets or air sacs, right? And then our bone is solid and hard. So you can see how our bones would make us lighter or heavier depending on what type of bone. Now, not all bones are actually hollow in birds. There are some birds that have more hollow bones than others. So birds that are going to soar or fly a lot are going to have more of these pneumatized or hollow bones than birds that don't fly as long. So penguins are actually a type of bird that don't have any hollow bones. But just as a reminder, all birds need to have these hollow bones to help them breathe and to be able to be light to fly. So majority of birds do have these pneumatized or hollow bones. All right, so Mr. Bruder, we still have 2 more traits to talk about, and I still have another bird ambassador for you to meet. However, this might be a good time for us to take some comments about what kind of traits they wish they had that are bird traits. Do we have any comments in our response boxes?
Hey, Mrs. Q. Yeah, we have quite a few, and I have to tell you, I think we have a bunch of ornithologists out there already, because when you asked them what their favorite birds were, there were some great things named off, like barn owls and golden eagles and penguins and egrets and falcons and all kinds of great things.
You guys know your birds. That's fantastic.
Some of which I know we have there at the Living Coast Discovery Center, correct?
That is absolutely correct. And you might be in for a treat, because remember, I still have another bird ambassador to show you, so it might be one of your favorites.
As far as traits, yeah, we had some good ones out there. There's definitely some that are the most popular. Our friend Eric said he'd choose wings so that he wouldn't have to walk everywhere.
I love that.
Our friend Lizzie said she would choose a beak so that she's able to break up food easier.
Be nice not to have to use utensils, right? If you could just do it with your mouth.
And I think our responses from Eric and Lizzie really represent what most of our viewers are thinking. If they could have one of those traits, wings are definitely popular, beaks are popular, but also that excellent eyesight.
That is a really important trait. We're going to be talking about that in just a moment. They do have very impressive eyesight. Excellent. Well, were there any other questions that I could answer at this time, or should we move on to our next traits?
We have some great questions, but I'm going to save some of them for a little later because I think we might have time then, so you can share with us a little bit more.
Excellent. Yes, great responses. Please keep them coming. I'll definitely check in a bit again. So we're going to move on to our next trait that all birds have, and that is feathers. Feathers are very important to birds. They help them to fly and to also keep very warm. And there are 7 main types of feathers. So there's wing feathers, which are kind of tall, long, and thin, and they also are very smooth. There's also down feathers, which are very small and fluffy to help keep the bird warm. Tail feathers are also similar to wing feathers, except they have that center line in a different place. So that center line is called the rachis. And if you notice with the tail feather, the center line is right down the middle, but the rachis on the wing feather is actually a little bit to the side. So that's how you can kind of tell them apart. They also have contour feathers, which are kind of smooth at the tip and then fluffy at the bottom. And those are covering the body of the bird to make them waterproof and also aerodynamic. There are also semi-plume, bristle, and phyloplume feathers, which are not quite as common as what we might think of the wing, the tail, the down, and the contour. Would you like to play a little game with me? I think you're going to do really well. So I'm going to show you a feather, and I want you to try and figure out if it is one of those 4 common types. So wing, down, tail, or contour. So I'm going to hold up this first feather, and this is a very fluffy feather, and it's going to be able to keep the bird warm. So if you think it's a down feather, you're absolutely correct. Well done. How about this feather? So it's smooth and long, and it has the rachis, or the center line, to one side. So remember, there were 2 that kind of were the same, but with the line to the side, this is a wing feather. One more. This feather is smooth at the top and fluffy at the bottom. So it also has this pretty coloring to cover the whole body of the bird. So this type of feather, if you're thinking about it, hopefully you know it's a contour feather. Well done. You're going to have a chance to guess a little bit more about feathers when we play our Kahoot later too. I still want to talk about another type of feathers, and for that I'm going to bring out our next bird ambassador. So I'm going to see if you can guess what type of bird this is. They have amazing specialized feathers that are going to allow them to fly silently. I'm going to go grab our bird right here, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to give you a couple of hints. So try and figure out what bird I'm going to bring out, okay? So my next hint is that it has very large eyes. So this bird has large eyes. It also is going to be nocturnal, which means they are going to sleep during the day and wake up at night. if you are thinking that I was going to bring out an owl, you are correct. This is Taito. And Taito is about 10 years old also. And Taito is a barn owl. Barn owls are pretty common around our area and actually around the world. So I want you to notice, we're talking about feathers, but Taito actually is a bird that's imprinted. So he fell out of his nest and he became imprinted on people, just like Mariah also. So that means that he thinks that he is a human like we are, or he thinks that we are birds like him, which sounds kind of funny. However, it means that he has to be taken care of for the rest of his life because he never learned how to take care of himself. So let's get to his beak and his feet actually. Let's look up close at that sharp beak. Taito also eats meat. So you can see these super powerful talons on his feet are going to definitely work like a fork to be able to grab on to his food, which he definitely eats mice. So let's get back to those feathers. Now, feathers on owls allow them to fly completely silently. And that's because on the front of the feather, they have almost like a comb-like structure. And on the back of the feather, it's kind of fuzzy. And that breaks up the wind as they fly, so they're completely silent. They also have pretty big feathers, so they are wings, so they don't have to flap as often. So these factors are going to allow them to have completely silent flight, which is pretty impressive. Now, all feathers, we just learned about feathers, all birds have feathers, and they might be different types and different colors and shapes and sizes, but birds need them to be able to keep warm and to help them fly. There's one other trait I'm going to talk about, but before that, now that you've seen two of our animal ambassadors, Mariah, the American kestrel, and Taito, the barn owl, I want to see if you can figure out some things that are the same and some things that are different between these two birds. So in the question and answer section, please go ahead and put some of these ideas. What's the same about them? What's different? Can you compare and contrast them? I'll check in with your responses in just a moment. All right, so our last trait is eyesight, and Taito is pretty perfect to talk about for eyes. Most birds have really good eyesight, but raptors like owls, like Taito, and falcons and eagles, they all have impressive eyesight. They can actually see 8 to 10 times better than humans. So if you had eyes like a bird and you stood on one side of a football field, I could hold a book on the opposite side of the football field and you would be able to read it. Impressive, right? Now, this is because our eyes are different than theirs. I want you to do something with me. Can you go ahead and stare straight ahead, but don't move your head? Now, move your eyeballs up, move them down, move them to the side. So we can move our eyeballs. Taito cannot do this. His eyes, they are always looking the same direction. So in order to look at something, you're going to see how he's moving his head all around. And that's what he has to do in order to look at a different place. Now, this is because we actually have 7 bones in our neck. And those bones allow us to be able to look from one shoulder to the other shoulder, about 180 degrees. Taito and other raptors have 14 bones in their neck, which means that they can actually turn their heads up to 270 degrees. Not all the way around, like in some cartoons. They can't do that, but they definitely can do it a lot further than we can, and that allows them to look around without being able to have their eyeballs look. So, eyesight is incredibly important. And birds, especially raptors, have amazing eyesight. I'm going to go ahead and hand off Taito here. And thank you so much for helping us learn a little bit about feathers and also about your amazing eyesight. So in just a moment, we're going to start our Kahoot. All right. Thank you, Taito. Awesome job. All right, so we have done it. So as ornithologists today, we learned that birds have wings, they lay eggs, they have beaks, they have hollow bones, feathers, and amazing eyesight. So we're going to go ahead and get ready for our Kahoot. And in order to do that, you are going to go to kahoot.it, but don't close this window. What I need you to do is open a separate window, not tab, but a separate window. And that's going to allow you to play our game to see how much you have learned today. So kahoot.it, and you are going to enter the game pin 6438398. Now, while I go ahead and get us ready on this end, I want to take your answers from what you think the birds were, how they were the same and how they were different. So Mr. Bruder, can you go ahead and help me out and see if any responses came in about comparing and contrasting Mariah and Taito?
Sure, we have some great responses out there from our ornithologists.
Excellent.
Our first one comes from Josiah about if they are both noticing that they're both meat eaters. However, one was nocturnal and one was not.
Absolutely, very good observation. So they're definitely both meat eaters. They have that sharp curved beak, and they also are going to be a little different because one is awake during the day, Mariah, and the other, Taito, is going to wake up at night. Very good observations.
Avery also noticed about them both eating meat, but also about their eyesight.
They do, and they both do have really impressive eyesight. I think it would be amazing to read a book from across the field of the football field.
Yeah. And then Eric noticed that both Mariah and Taito, that they were both looking around a lot. So he thinks that means that they're both very well aware of their surroundings.
Oh, that is a fantastic observation. Yes, I have this fish tank behind me, and they both are very visual animals. They have those large, impressive eyes, and they are extremely aware of their surroundings. So anything that moves or anything that looks a little different to them, they are definitely interested in seeing what's going on around them. That's going to help them get away from predators and find their food.
So Mrs. Q, while our friends are logging into the Kahoot, would it be okay to share some of those questions that our viewers have been sending in the whole time?
Oh, absolutely. Please do.
Great. So we have one from Christian asking about, are tail feathers there to help the birds steer while they're flying?
Yes, absolutely. So they're very symmetrical. Remember how they have that rachis right down the middle? So their tail feathers are definitely kind of like, I don't know if you guys know about boats, but it's kind of like the part that steers the boat, right? The keel, and they can actually help them to turn quickly and be able to keep straight as they're flying, for sure.
Another question was, when you were showing us the bone and showing us the hollow part of it, why do they need to have those holes in their bones?
It's a really kind of complex question, actually. So the bones of the birds, not every single bone in their body is hollow. So they have a different respiratory system than we do. So the breathing, we kind of breathe in and then breathe out. For them, it's almost just kind of one direction. So they need some extra space in their body to be able to kind of hold on to the air. So those pockets in the bone are actually, many of them have air sacs in there, is where they can actually hold on to the air during their breathing system.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Gabriel was wondering, I know we talked a lot about beaks and how that helps them to eat in their food, but do birds have teeth?
Great question. They don't really. I mean, they have a pointed edge, and then usually the beaks are pretty sharp and they come to an edge, but they don't, like inside the beak, they do not have teeth. So like ducks' beaks are kind of like a long flat bill, right? And so they might have some kind of sharper, kind of little bit of bumps along their beaks, but they're not really teeth. They're definitely just a bill or a beak.
Yeah, I mean, we have some great questions. We have another one from Zach about how do they survive eating the things that they eat?
Well, we all definitely need to get energy from something else. We're not like plants where we can just soak up some energy from the sun and make our own food, right? So we definitely, all animals have to be able to get our food from another source. And so those beaks actually are catered to exactly what type of food helps them to grow. And so the long beaks are going to help birds that live near the ocean to dig in the mud, whereas eagles and hawks and raptors like Mariah and Taito, they're going to live more in the dry areas where there are mice, and they're going to have that curved beak and sharp feet to be able to grab on and cut up their meat. So it's pretty amazing how everything is really perfectly formed to be able to help them eat the food that's specific to them.
Thanks for sharing that. I see we still have some friends logging into the Kahoot, so we'll give them a little bit more time as I have some more questions to share.
Awesome. I think you guys are going to do really well with this Kahoot. I can tell already with these questions. They're amazing.
Yeah, Avery's wondering, is there an average number of feathers that a bird has?
That is a fantastic question. I actually have no idea. I think you should look it up, and I'm going to look it up too. I would say quite a few, because if there's 7 different types on each bird, there's a lot. It's almost like hairs on your head, right? I actually don't even know how many hairs are on our head too.
I'm telling you, I think we have some future Living Coast Discovery Center employees attending.
Oh, I hope so.
And you know what? The last question I was going to ask if you could share with us is, could you just talk a little bit more about some of the other birds that are down there at the Living Coast?
Absolutely. So we have Raptor Row is where all of our raptors are, which are the ones that eat meat. So we have vultures, we have eagles, so we have bald eagle, we have golden eagles, we have turkey vultures, we have a variety of different hawks. And then we also have our shorebird enclosure, where we have a lot of the birds that have those long beaks and long legs that live down near the shore. And then we also have a lot of birds just actually out here, out on the trail. So songbirds, like our finches and sparrows, and it's really amazing to be able to just take a walk and be able to see all these different types.
Great, thanks for sharing that, Mrs. Q. You know what? We have about 400 friends ready to play Kahoot, so I think we need to get started.
Woohoo! Thank you guys for hanging in there while we went through that process, and thank you for those amazing questions. That was fantastic. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click start. So if you're not quite ready to join, it's okay. You can join throughout. But here we go with our first question. Beaks, feathers, and feet challenge. In 3, 2, 1. First question. What does an ornithologist study? Red triangle, click red triangle if you think insects. Click blue diamond if you think frogs. Click yellow circle if you think birds, and click green square if you think coyotes. What does an ornithologist study? Remember, we were ornithologists today. So, do ornithologists study insects, red triangle, frogs, blue diamond, yellow, birds, or green square, coyotes? What do you think an ornithologist studies? I think we have quite a few ornithologists that are in our viewers today. You have about 10 seconds left, so go ahead and get your answers in. Insects, frogs, birds, or coyotes. Woohoo! Well done. Birds is the correct answer. Ornithologist study birds. So, oh my goodness, Captain Lark and Eager Eagle. I love this. Speedy Dragon, Rational Stork, and Lovely Koala. Well done, everyone. All right, next question. Do all birds use their wings to fly? Is this yes, red triangle, or no, blue diamond? Do all birds use their wings to fly? So think about, when I talked about wings, did all birds fly? Red triangle, yes. Blue diamond, no. We talked about a lot of different traits today, and one of them was that all birds do have wings, but do they all use them to fly? What do you think? Yes, red triangle, blue diamond, no. Go ahead and complete your answers. We have about 10 seconds left. So get those answers in. Do all birds use their wings to fly? Yes or no? Woohoo! No, they don't. Remember, penguins are going to use them to swim, and ostrich, they have powerful legs, so they don't use them for flying either. Next question. Ooh, let's see who. Ooh, my goodness. Epic hen and helpful jaguar. Speedy dragon hanging in there. Dynamic wallaby and purple camel. Well done. Here we go. Next question. Which type of bird has a sharp, curved beak? So red triangle, American kestrel, blue diamond, duck, yellow circle, hummingbird, or green square crow. Which type of bird has a sharp curved beak? Give you a hint. I showed you one of them today. So red triangle, American kestrel, blue diamond, duck, yellow circle, hummingbird, green square crow. Which one has a sharp curved beak? We have a picture of a barn owl right here, which is one of the birds I showed you today. Less than 10 seconds. American kestrel, duck, hummingbird, or crow. Which one has a sharp curved beak? Yes, it is an American kestrel. Well done. That was Mariah, and she definitely showed us her sharp curved beak to be able to eat those crickets and worms. Snowy iguana coming from out of nowhere, purple horse, purple camel, speedy dragon hanging in there still, and clever rabbit. Well done, everyone. Question number 4. We did a little quiz of this earlier. What type of feather is this? Is it a red triangle tail feather? Is it a blue diamond wing feather? Is it a yellow circle down feather? Or green square contour feather? Which type of feather is this? Red triangle tail, blue diamond wing, yellow circle down, or green square contour? Remember, this one's going to look a little similar to another one, but think about where that middle line is, right? That rachis. Where, if it's straight in the middle, what type of feather was it? Is it red triangle tail, blue diamond wing, yellow circle down, or green square contour? Get your answers in, just a couple left, couple seconds left. Ooh, that was a close one. And I'm glad it was actually between the tail and the wing, because that was the tricky part. The tail has it in the middle and the wing has it to the side. So well done. That was a tricky one. Last question coming up. Whoo, Speedy Dragon in the first place. Daring Lizard, well done, and Bold Snail, Stellar Hen, and Dynamic Wallaby. You are rocking it. Okay, here we go. That was a tough one. Let's see if you can come on back with this next one. Here we go. Last question. Don't answer too quickly. All birds have red triangle feathers, blue diamond wings, yellow circle beaks, or green square, all of the above. So all birds, what were the traits that we talked about today that all birds have? Red triangle feathers, blue diamond wings, yellow circle beaks, or green square, all of the above. All birds have Think about all of the traits that we talked about today. Which were ones that all of the birds had. Red triangle feathers, blue diamond wings, yellow circle beaks, and green square, all of the above. About 5 seconds left. Get your answers in. Let's see. Yay! Excellent. You are correct. They have feathers, wings, and beaks. All of those for sure. Ooh, let's see who made it to our top 3. Space cheetah, well done, 3rd place, and stellar hen, 2nd place, and dun, da, 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 1st place goes to bold snail. Awesome job with amusing and cute raven runners up. Well done, friends. You did awesome. Thank you so much for participating. I have a couple more things to share. So I'm going to go ahead and switch back to be able to see our PowerPoint here so I can show you about some other amazing opportunities that we have here at the Living Coast and online to be able to meet some more of our animals. So I happen to have a YouTube playlist called Creature Close-Ups with Mrs. Q. And I've created a lot of experiences where you get to meet some of our animals here, including a whole episode on Mariah. So if you enjoyed seeing her, you can check that out. The link is in the question and answer section. And we also have all of our previous live experiences recorded that you can check out at our innovation and instruction link that's also placed in that question and answer section. And lastly, Mr. Garcia from the Innovation Station next Friday is going to be on another live experience titled Using Robotics to Clean Up Pollution. So you don't want to miss next Friday, January 15th at 1 p.m. Tune in again. So thank you so much for learning with me today and meeting Mariah and Taito. I hope to see you all again soon. Bye for now.